Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. When you think of the Black Plague, what's the first thing that pops into your head? I'm guessing it's rats, right? Fleas on rats, spreading a terrifying disease across medieval Europe. It's the story we've all been told. But what if I told you that's not the whole picture? What if the tiny rat wasn't the only villain in this historical tragedy? Today, we're peeling back the layers of history to uncover the real, more complex story of how the Black Death brought a continent to its knees. Stick around, because the truth is more shocking and fascinating than you can imagine. The classic story goes like this. The bacterium, Yersinia pestis, lived in fleas, which hitched a ride on black rats. These rats stowed away on merchant ships traveling from Asia, and when they landed in European ports, the plague exploded. And yes, this was a huge part of it. The conditions were perfect. Medieval cities were crowded and unsanitary, creating a paradise for rats to thrive and interact with humans. But this explanation has always had a few holes. For example, the plague spread incredibly fast, sometimes faster than rats could realistically travel. It also popped up in areas with very few rats, like the cold plains of Scandinavia. So, how did that happen? This is where the story gets a major plot twist. Recent scientific research looking at everything from ancient DNA to medieval ice cores points to another major culprit: us, humans. It turns out a different form of the plague, the pneumonic plague, attacks the lungs. And unlike the bubonic plague, which requires a flea bite, the pneumonic plague can spread directly from person to person through coughs and sneezes, just like the flu. This explains the terrifying speed of its transmission. A sick traveler could arrive in a new town and start a fresh outbreak just by breathing. It wasn't just rats in the shadows, it was the person standing right next to you. But wait, there's more. Scientists have also identified another, less famous human parasite that likely played a big role: the human flea and the body louse. These tiny pests were everywhere in the medieval world, living in people's clothes and bedding. Unlike rat fleas, which prefer rats, human fleas and lice are perfectly happy living on and biting people. They could have easily picked up the plague from one person and passed it to another, creating a human-to-human transmission cycle that didn't need a single rat. This helps explain why the plague spread so relentlessly through all levels of society, from crowded peasant huts to the less rat-infested castles of the nobility. So, the story of the Black Plague isn't just a simple tale of rats and fleas. It's a complex ecological disaster involving multiple transmission routes. You have the classic rat-to-human spread, the terrifyingly fast person-to-person airborne spread, and the slow, crawling spread via human parasites. It was a perfect storm of biological factors that made the Black Death one of the most devastating pandemics in human history. Understanding this complexity doesn't just make for a better story. It reminds us how vulnerable we can be, and how crucial public health and sanitation truly are. The rats were part of the problem, but they weren't the only ones. What do you think? Does this change how you see the Black Plague? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. It's a fascinating, if grim, part of our shared history. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more historical mysteries debunked, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next video. Stay curious and see you next time.